Is it possible to 3D print a Stomp rocket? And if so, will it actually work? In this video, I'll show you how I designed and 3D printed an actual Stomp rocket. I designed the Stomp rocket for 3D printing using Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is a really easy to use CAD software, and it's free for personal use. This design uses a flexible filament called TPU. This design is unique because the TPU filament allows this flexible diaphragm to spring back into its original position. The real magic of this design is in the slicer settings. I use a special super light gyroid infill, and you can see it here. This type of infill has enough openings and spaces between the lines that will allow the air to actually be forced out of the nozzle. Basically, none of the air will be trapped in the infill. It'll also allow for the top of the diaphragm to be supported and printed. Of course, we'll never actually remove these supports because they're embedded inside of the flexible diaphragm. Here you can see the internal supports being printed. It's important to remember that when you're printing with TPU or flexible filaments, to print really slow. Another important thing to consider with this design is the thickness of all the walls throughout the diaphragm. The walls for the diaphragm are especially thin. This will allow the diaphragm to be extra flexible. And the launch tower is designed to be fairly rigid. You can see the difference of wall thickness back in the slicer. I prefer to use Cura as my slicer, and I've had great success with Cura. After about a day of printing, here's the final result. A special thanks to DURAMIC 3D for sending me this flexible red TPU filament. I'm actually surprised with how well everything came out. I tried to make the rocket as thin as possible so it's extra light. I'm going to be testing it fairly light just to make sure I don't pop the diaphragm. Then I'll gradually try more and more force. So it looks like it could actually handle some force, so I'm going to try to put a little bit more pressure on the diaphragm. It's pretty amazing that it kind of works, especially since this is my first design iteration. And for the grand finale, I really stomped on it. I'm not exactly sure how many times this diaphragm can handle that much force, but it seems to do okay, and you can always just 3D print another one. If you want to 3D print this yourself, I'll have all the files available for free on my website. And if you want to level up your design and 3D printing skills, I also sell design and 3D printing courses. Thanks for watching, and happy printing.